here's the before and after of everything that we've done so far in this video tutorial, and I think that is looking amazing. Hi there guys, my name is Ryan and you can learn, make and create together with me in Adobe Photoshop. Today I'm going to show you how you can edit this amazing portrait step by step using some actions. So without any further ado, let's get started. So here we are in Adobe Photoshop, and as you can see, this portrait is looking amazing and it's done by Alfredo Martinez-Chavez. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly because he's done an amazing job. Before we start retouching this portrait, make sure to check all the links down in the description because you will find the raw file and the retouching actions. So first thing first that we're going to do in this portrait is that we are going to clean. So just a little clean on the skin and more cleaning around the hair because it's messy. So I'm gonna click here on clean and click play. After we do that, and as you can see, we have a clean layer that says clean here, and the spot filling brush tool is automatically selected, and we have the black and white help layer that helps us to see some details in the highlights. For example, here I'm gonna zoom in, click on clean layer, I'm gonna zoom in here in the forehead with the spot filling brush tool selected. I'm gonna start cleaning this portrait. So as I said, make sure to check all the links down in the description because you'll find the raw file and the retouching actions. And now that I'm done with the cleaning, I'm just gonna make some changes here on the hair by going to filter and click liquify. Click on the forward warp tool and make some changes around the hair. Zoom in just a little more and make some changes if you want to. You can zoom out and you can click P keyword or just click preview here if you want to check a before and after in the liquify section, and I think that is looking okay. Click OK. So here we have a before and after of everything that we have done, and now that we are done with the cleaning, I'm just gonna put this under this one and close the black and white help layer, leave it here. So here's the before and after. Now that we're done with the clean, it's time for the dodge and burn. So just click on dodge and burn and turn on the black and white help layer that is inside the clean and black and white help layer. So now it's time for dodge and burn, and we are going to dodge and burn in the macro. So just click on the window, click arrange and click new window for beauty. After that is done, click again on the window, arrange and select tool vertical. The reason that I'm doing this is because we want to retouch like a professional, and just click on this window and make this smaller. Just like that. You can even zoom out, maybe not that much, but something like that. So here we have two same windows. This meaning that everything that we do in the right window, it will show up in the left one. So the reason why I'm doing this in the dodge and burn section is because we don't want to zoom in and zoom out every time that we are working. Click on dodge and select brush. For the opacity, I'm gonna go by 10% and flow by 45. You can right click if you want to change the brush. So I'm gonna stick with a general soft round brush and I will start dodging this portrait. So here's before and after all the dodge and burn. Now that you are done, we can close the left window and leave it only the right or the single one. So turn off the black and white help layer and check it before and after. Check it before and after only on the dodge and burn. I'm gonna turn off both of them. Zoom in just a little and click on the dodge. And I think that is looking okay, but 100% is kind of too much. So I'm gonna reduce it by 65 or maybe 55. Now click on the burn, and I think that burn is okay, but just a little more. So here's the before and after again. You can zoom in here if you want to check the changes. Now that we are done with the clean and dodge and burn, just merge these layers into a single one and delete the black and white help layer. So here's the before and after again after you've done everything so far. Now merge both of them again. Now click again on the actions and it's time for the frequency separation. So just click play and wait until it's done. here we have the color and the texture, so we are going to work first in the color, and after we are done we are going to work on the texture. So click on the mixer brush, and the right settings for the mixer brush are 10% of wet, load by 45, mix by 45, and flow by 33. I'm going to work with a soft round brush in the general brushes, and I'm gonna turn off the texture, zoom in just a little, and I will start mixing the skin tones of this portrait. So here's a before and after only on the color. You can zoom in just a little and check a before and after. And I think that is looking okay. Now that we're done with the color, it's time for the texture. So in the texture we have to work with the clone stamp tool, zoom in where we want to start cleaning, and make a smaller brush. I'm going to work with a soft round brush in the general brushes, and click Alt keyboard to make a sample or to copy the texture, and just paint it like that. So here's a before and after of everything that you have done in the frequency separation, and I think that with the color I'm gonna reduce it just a little. I think that 85 will be enough. So check it before and after again. Now it's time to put some dodge and burn inside the frequency separation group. Just click on dodge and burn and click play. Click on dodge and zoom in just a little. With a white brush and 10% opacity and 100% flow, with a soft round brush I'm gonna put some dodge into this portrait. So here's before and after only of the dodge. Now click on the burn and paint it the same. So here's the before and after of the dodge and burn inside the frequency separation layer, and I think that is looking amazing, but I'm gonna reduce the dodge just a little and check the before and after of the burn, and I think that I will reduce it too. So here's before and after of everything that you've done so far in this video tutorial, and I think that is looking amazing. Now I'm gonna make a selection around the bottom lip because I think that I have to fix this. So I will just create a selection. Right click and make selection, and I think that I'm gonna go by 0.8 maybe, and turn off the texture, go to the color, click on the mixer brush and wet by 100. I'm just gonna paint or move this until I fix the color on the bottom lip. Make the flow by 100 if you want to make it faster, just like that. Don't worry about the shadow here because we are gonna fix it later. So here's the before and after here, and I think that it's starting to look okay. Now click on the texture, and for the texture I'm just gonna create another copy of this one, and click on clone stamp tool, click Alt keyboard and hold it, and click here to make a sample, and just paint it like that. Click on window and click on the paths, click here on the path and click on the selection. Now I'm gonna click on the mixer brush and I'm gonna make softer these parts of the texture, just like that, with 10% of brush and 33% of flow. Now you can zoom in and check before and after. And as you can see, it's looking okay, but not that much because we removed the shadow. So click here and click on the curves and drag and drop this down because we want to add some shadow into the lips, and switch it into the black. Now click again on the path and click on the selection. Click B for brush and just paint it here to create a shadow. Now go back and check it before and after. And as you can see that we put too much shadow here. So with a black brush, we're just going to remove it. Just like that. Now check it before and after, and I think that is okay, but we need to remove just a little more of the shadow here. Now check it before and after. I'm gonna put another layer here, an empty layer, and copy this color that is here and just paint, but make sure to click on the selection and just paint it around the lip with 100% opacity, 100% flow. So here's the before and after of everything that we've done so far. And I think that is looking amazing. You can zoom in here and click here on the blur tool because we want to blur the paint that we've done. Now I think that I'm gonna put some freckles into this portrait because the model had some. You can zoom in and you can check them. So I'm gonna create an empty layer here and click B for brush, right click, and I'm gonna go down here to the freckle brushes by Retouch, and I will select the small freckles, make this just a little bigger, and I think that I'm gonna paint until I find the freckles that fit my style. I think that this side is okay. Just click here again and click again, and here we have the freckles. Click on the blending mode that is normal and switch it to the soft light. You can zoom in here and check it before and after. And I think that is looking okay, but I'm gonna put just a little Gaussian blur into the freckles. I think that 1% is okay. Now check it before and after again, and if you think that you want to remove some, you can just create a layer mask, right click and choose the soft round brush and just paint it just like that. So here's the before and after. I'm gonna reduce it, the opacity, just a little more by making them look like real. So here's before and after. Now check before and after in the zoom out, and I think that this portrait is turning amazing. And now that we're done with the frequency separation and everything that was inside that group, it's time to work on the makeup details. So I'm just gonna create another copy of the frequency separation group, right click and merge group. So I think that I'm gonna fix the nails here by zooming in, and as you can see they are not that good. So I'm gonna create a selection with a pen tool and just paint inside that selection. So I think that I'm gonna start here. Right click and click on make selection, just zoom in with the clone stamp tool. We are going to copy paste make sure to copy paste as near as possible because you will change the color. So here's the before and after. You can zoom in, and as you can see the edges are kind of too harsh, so I'm gonna click here on the blur tool and I will make them softer, just like that. Do the same process in the other nails. So here's the before and after what we've done with the nails, and I think that they're looking okay. Now that we're done with the nails, it's time for some makeup details. So I'm gonna click here on Ice Retouch and click play, click continue, and I will zoom in here inside the ice. Click on the remove veins with white brush and 100% flow and 100% opacity. I'm just gonna paint inside the white of the ice. reduce the opacity by 65, I think, or maybe lower. 55 is okay. Now click on the brightening, and this one is for the white of the eyes too. Just paint on the white of the eyes. So here's before and after, and 100% is kind of too much, so I'm gonna go by 35, and I think that 35 was okay. Now zoom in and click on the eyeball brightening and just paint in the eyeballs, just like that. Click on the iris contour and just paint around the iris, just like that. So zoom in and check before and after. I think it's looking okay. If you want to make small changes, for example, if you think that this one is kind of too much, you can just lower the opacity of the entire group and you are good to go. Now that we're done with the eyes, it's time to work on the makeup details here. So I'm gonna click here on the smoky eyes, click play, and just paint it like that. And if you think that 100% of this one is kind of too much, you can always lower the opacity, just like that. Now click here on the eyeshadows that says pick a color. I'm gonna make 2 or 3 empty layers, and this one is great for makeup artists. You can just paint it like that. And here we have some great color, but I think that I'm gonna stick with this kind of purple color, but not that much, with 100% that it was before. So just paint it with 20% or maybe 10% opacity of the brush. So here's the before and after, and I think that is looking okay, but I'm gonna reduce it by 65. Now click on the other one, and for the other one I think that I'm gonna go with a darker color and just paint it around the eyelashes. And leave it on top of the first one that was the color. So check it before and after. I think it's okay, but 100% is always too much. Create another eyeshadows, and I think that I'm gonna stick with this purple color, but find a lighter one, and I think it was here with a lighter color, 100% flow and 10% opacity. I'm just gonna paint it here. Just like that. So here's before and after, and I think that is looking okay. Now click on the lipstick color and click play. Zoom in and turn on a lipstick color that is inside, and with a brush just paint around the lips. Now check all the lipsticks color that are inside that group. And if you think that none of them fits your style, you can just click here and double click and pick the color that you want. For example, you can play with the colors, but I think that I'm gonna stick with this purple, just like that. Kind of darker, kind of into red, maybe lighter one. And click OK. Now switch the blending mode from normal to soft light. And check it before and after. Zoom in here. I think it's looking okay, but 100% is kind of too much, and just lower the opacity maybe by 55. Double click here and make some changes on the underlying layer in the highlights, and just a little on the shadows, just like that. So here's a before and after, and I think that 55 is kind of too much again, so I'm gonna go by 20 and check before and after. I think it's okay. And now that we are done with the makeup details, it's time for some sharpen, basic contrast, and face contour. So just click on sharpen, basic contrast, and face contour, and click play. Click on the sharpen and switch the blending, switch the layer mask that is black into white. Zoom in and check a before and after of the sharpness. And I think that 100% is kind of too much, so I'm gonna go by 80%. Now click on the basic contrast, and I think that this one too is too much, so I'm gonna go by 35 and click on the contour, and this one is looking okay. You can just lower it just a little. Now check a before and after of everything that we've done so far. And now that we're done with the retouch and the makeup details and everything else, it's time for some color grade. But before we start with the color grading, I think that I'm gonna change the color that is in the backdrop. First, I'm just gonna click shift and click here, right click and group from layers and rename retouch. So we have only a group of the retouch. Make another copy of the group, right click and merge group. And I think that I'm gonna select only subject. You can click here on select and click subject, just like that, and create a selection of that one. Click here and put an empty layer, and you can click the color that you want, for example this one, and just paint it in the backdrop. You can zoom in, but as you can see in the selection, we don't have the perfect selection. So I'm gonna go back into the retouch copy and create a selection with the pen tool. So here you are. This is my selection that I have done manually with the pen tool, and I think that is looking okay. Now I'm gonna click Control and delete for the right color that I'm looking for, and that one is this one with the code D2AD88. So here's the before and after of everything that we've done so far into this video tutorial, and I think that is looking amazing. You can zoom in here and check if the edges are perfectly, just like that. And if you think that your backdrop or your background is kind of looking fake, you can put some texture behind it. Just click on skin texture, click paint, and switch the layer mask into white, just like that. You can zoom in and reduce that opacity of that one. And if you think that this one is kind of too much, you can just lower the opacity of this one, just like that. And here's the before and after. You can even switch the blending mode of that one until you find that one is your perfect, but I think that I'm gonna stick with the normal. And if you want to make changes again in the backdrop, you can just click here on the hue saturation and play with the colors, just like that. But as I said, I find my best one and is this color. So now that I am done with everything else with the retouch and that backdrop color change, I think that it's time for some color grading. So I'm just gonna click shift here and click here, right click and group from layers and rename retouch plus color backdrop change, just like that. Make another copy and right click, merge, and click Ctrl A to select all this window and Ctrl C to copy. Go to File, New, and Create, and paste this into a right click, merge. Now we have the color grade light skin actions. I'm gonna check them one by one until I find my best color grade. And I think that I'm gonna stick with the A11 and just move this into the original window, drag and drop this and turn on the color grading. So here we have everything inside that color grade. I'm gonna check them one by one, and I think that every single one fits perfectly. But as you can see, it's changing the backdrop, so I'm gonna create a layer mask here and open the group that is the color backdrop and click here, click Ctrl Shift I to invert it and just paint that color out just like that. So here we have the color grade only in the subject or in the model. You can zoom in here if the edges are perfectly, and I think that is looking okay. So here's the before and after of everything that we've done so far in this video tutorial, and I think that is looking amazing. Here we have the retouch, and here we have the retouch with the backdrop change, and here we have the retouch with the color grade. You can zoom in here and check it before and after. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this long video tutorial, and leave some comments down below. Let me know if I'm understandable or not. Let me know if you learned something from me. Let me know if you like this video tutorial, and don't forget to check all the links down in the description because you will find the raw file and retouching actions. And see you guys in the next one. Peace.